What's going on, car family? I'm Ben Wayne, back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the 2015 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S. The Porsche 911 was initially introduced by Porsche back in 1963 and throughout several years has only received minor changes in design. The overall car looks exactly the same. So today we're going to be looking at the 7th generation 911, which is internally designated by Porsche as the 991. Let's talk briefly about the naming nomenclature of this 2015 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S. The Carrera name used throughout Porsche 911's history comes from a famous race called the Carrera Pan America. The 4 means this 911 has all-wheel drive as opposed to the traditional two-wheel drive, and the S means you're receiving a 3.8 liter flat 6 motor as opposed to the regular Carrera's 3.4 liter flat 6. So now that we've done a brief introduction, let's go over the exterior and interior features of this vehicle and see how this ride has been engineered for excellence. One of the greatest improvements of the 991 generation is the fact that 45% of the body shell is composed of lightweight aluminum. This makes it 110 pounds lighter than the outgoing 997 generation. Also, since this is an S model, it should be noted that the front track is 2 inches wider than the standard Carrera 991. Now, since this is a 911 Carrera S model, that means the wheels are going to be 20 inches in the front and 20 inches in the back. In the front, your wheels are going to be wrapped in Pirelli P0s that are 245, and in the rear, your Pirelli P0s are 305. Now, it should be noted, since this is a Carrera 4S model, the wheels in the rear are going to be slightly wider than the standard Carrera. Up front, your brake rotors are going to be cross-drilled and internally ventilated and grasped by 6-piston calipers. In the rear, your brake rotors are the same, cross-drilled and internally ventilated, but grasped by 4-piston calipers. Since the Carrera 4S is all-wheel drive, that means power gets sent to all 4 wheels through an active all-wheel drive unit via the use of a multi-plate clutch. Now, that multi-plate clutch can continuously alter the torque between the front and rear axles depending on load and available traction. Now, since this is a Carrera 4S, that means the bodywork in the rear will be slightly wider than the traditional Carrera to accommodate for those wider tires. You have ventilation here for that 3.8 liter flat 6 and an integrated spoiler which can be raised and lowered at the push of a button or automatically for enhanced stability. Coming further down, you have a light strip between the 2 tail lights that makes it easy to identify as a Carrera 4S. And then as you look lower, of course, you have that traditional Porsche exhaust system, which sounds great, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. Let me give you a brief demonstration on how the top works. All right, check this out. Let's briefly talk about what powers the 2015 Carrera 4S. So I'm gonna raise the engine cover. And this engine cover will reveal the 3.8 liter flat 6, which produces 400 horsepower at 7,500 RPM and 325 pound-feet of torque at 5,600 RPM. Now, this motor is connected to a 7-speed PDK transmission, which is a double clutch automated manual, and it'll get you a 0 to 60 time at just 4.1 seconds. Now, let's briefly talk about why the 3.8 liter motor of this Porsche is defined as a flat 6. It has 6 pistons that are laid out horizontally in 2 banks with 3 pistons on each side. Now, the pistons of this 3.8 liter flat 6 motor have been connected to the crankshaft so they move back and forth in opposite directions at the same time, like so. Now, if you think about it, this looks like boxers tapping their gloves together before a match. This is why this motor is commonly referred to as a boxer motor. Now, that should sound slightly familiar to you because Porsche also has a model called the Boxster. What they did was they combined the word boxer for that boxer motor and roadster, since it's a convertible, and then you get Boxster, the Porsche Boxster. Now that we covered some of the details of that 3.8 liter flat 6, I'm gonna lower the engine cover and we can talk about the interior. Starting with the top of the dash, is covered in a nice tan leather. It looks really great against the white exterior of the car. You have 2 air conditioning vents here, a touchscreen infotainment system that controls your radio, media, phone, and CD player. In the center console, you have controls for your heated and air conditioned seats, which is applicable to both the driver and passenger side. You have controls for your 7-speed PDK transmission. Down here in the center console, you'll notice that it looks resemblant of the Carrera GT, and that's because it was inspired by the Carrera GT, as well as the Porsche Panamera. You have an assortment of buttons here: sport, suspension, traction control. This button raises and lowers the rear spoiler, and this is an eco mode, which saves fuel when you're stopped at red lights and cuts the motor back on when you release your foot off the brake and go on about your business. These buttons here control the top. Now coming over to the passenger side, you'll notice that you have 2 cup holders here. Personally, I think these are the world's most over-engineered cup holders, but they look pretty cool. Just don't break them, man. Now the steering wheel of the 911 Carrera 4S is nice and simplistic, feels great in my hands. It's covered in soft tan leather with tan stitching as well, and what looks really nice is that Porsche crest that's sat in the middle of the steering wheel. Now the door panels of this car are nice and simplistic. Again, tan leather continues to the door panel. You have an aluminum door handle. You have controls for your side view mirrors and windows as well, and 2-position memory for the seating. The seats are 14-way adjustable. And then you have speakers here. This car is fitted with a Bose sound system. Now it's time to start up that 3.8 liter flat 6 and hear how that exhaust note sounds. Well, that was a brief overview of the 2015 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram. My handle is @Ben, BEN_Wayne, WAYNE_. And on Facebook, my handle is just Ben Wayne. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.